Eric sat in his high-rise office, staring out at the glittering city below. Lagos was alive, cars honking, people bustling, skyscrapers towering over the streets. Yet, despite all his wealth, Eric felt empty. He had everything money could buy: luxury cars, mansions, private jets. But love, that was something he had never truly found. For years, women had flocked to him, not for who he was, but for what he had. Every relationship had ended the same way, with betrayal, greed, and disappointment. He had tried to believe in love, but each time it proved to be a lie. His father, Chief Benson, only cared about power. "You are a billionaire, Eric. You don't need love. Marry for business, not feelings," his father had said countless times. But Eric didn't want that. He wanted something real. He wanted someone who would love him, not for the money. One night, as he sat alone in his penthouse, an idea struck him. What if I leave all of this behind? What if I go somewhere no one knows me? A crazy thought, but it wouldn't leave his mind. The next day, he called his trusted assistant. "I need you to prepare something for me," he said. "What, sir?" "I want to disappear," Eric said. "Get me fake documents. Change my identity. And make me a crippled beggar." The assistant blinked in shock. "Sir," Eric's face was serious, "I need to know if true love exists." A week later, Eric stood in front of a cracked mirror, staring at himself. His expensive suit was gone. Instead, he wore old, tattered clothes. His fine shoes were replaced with worn-out sandals. A fake leg brace made him limp like a cripple. No one would recognize him now. He took a deep breath and boarded a bus heading to Iloja, a remote village on the outskirts of Lagos. As the bus bounced over potholes, he gazed out the window. The city faded behind him, replaced by open lands, small huts, and dusty roads. When the bus finally stopped, Eric stepped down and limped onto the dirt path. His heart pounded. This was it. No more luxury. No more comfort. Just the real world. Eric wandered through the village, dragging his leg. The sun was hot, his stomach empty. People walked past him, some sparing him a glance, others ignoring him completely. He soon reached the village square, where a small market was bustling with life. Women sold vegetables, children played, men carried firewood. As Eric sat under a mango tree, exhausted, a soft voice startled him. "Excuse me, sir, are you okay?" He looked up. A young woman stood before him, holding a small basket. Her dark skin glowed in the sunlight, her eyes full of warmth. I'm fine," Eric said, his voice weak. She crouched beside him. "You don't look fine. Are you hungry?" Eric hesitated but nodded. She opened her basket and handed him a piece of roasted yam. "Here, eat this." Eric took it, shocked. No one had ever shown him kindness without expecting something in return. "What's your name?" she asked. "Emeka," Eric lied, using his fake identity. "And you?" "Destiny," she said with a smile. "Come, let's go to my house. My father and I will help you." Eric hesitated. Why is she being so nice? But something in her eyes told him she was different. Destiny's house was small but clean. Her father, Roland, was a kind man with tired eyes and a welcoming spirit. He listened to Eric's story, how he was a crippled beggar with no family. "You can stay here," Roland said. "We don't have much, but we will share what we have." Eric was stunned. This man barely had enough to feed himself, yet he was offering shelter to a stranger. That night, as Eric lay on a simple mat, he realized something. For the first time in years, he felt safe. Days turned into weeks. Eric helped around the house, fetching water, sweeping, and assisting with the farm, though he had to pretend to struggle with his fake injury. He and Destiny spent more time together. She was kind, patient, and full of laughter. She had dreams of leaving the village to become a nurse, but she stayed to care for her father. Eric found himself drawn to her, but at the same time, guilt gnawed at him. "She thinks I'm a beggar. She doesn't know the truth." One evening, as they sat under a tree watching the sunset, Destiny sighed. "I wish life was easier for my father," she said. "He has sacrificed so much for me." Eric swallowed hard. He had more money than he could ever spend, yet these people, who had nothing, were the happiest and kindest he had ever met. He wanted to tell her the truth. But what if she hated him for lying? One night, Eric overheard Destiny and Roland talking. "We need to help Emeka," Destiny said. "If we sell some of our land, we can pay for his surgery." Eric's heart stopped. These people, who barely had enough to eat, were willing to sacrifice everything for him. "I'll sell my market produce," Roland said. "No man should live with such pain." Tears burned in Eric's eyes. He wanted to scream, "I don't need your money. I am a billionaire." But if he told them now, would they ever forgive him? The next morning, Destiny handed him a small bundle of money. "It's not much," she said, "but we will keep saving." Eric's hands shook. He couldn't take this. But if he refused, they would suspect something was wrong. So, with a heavy heart, he accepted it. That night, as he lay on his mat, he knew one thing. The longer he stayed, the worse the truth would hurt. But he couldn't leave, because, for the first time in his life, he was in love. Days turned into weeks, and Eric found himself more attached to Destiny. He had never met someone so pure, so selfless. Every morning, she woke up before dawn, helped her father on the farm, and still had time to care for him. Eric watched her with admiration, but deep inside, he battled with guilt. The longer he kept his secret, the more he felt like a fraud. Destiny and Roland had sacrificed so much for him. How would they react when they learned the truth? One evening, as they sat outside watching the moon, Eric finally spoke. "Destiny, why are you so kind to me?" he asked. She smiled softly. "Because kindness is free. My father always told me that the greatest thing a person can give is love." Eric felt something tighten in his chest. He wanted to tell her everything. But before he could, someone called her name. "Destiny, what are you doing out here with him?" Eric turned and saw a tall woman with sharp eyes approaching them. She was beautiful, but carried an air of arrogance. "Sophia," Destiny said, standing up. "Why are you here?" "I should be asking you that," Sophia scoffed. She turned to Eric. "I hope you're not thinking you have a chance with her. Destiny deserves someone better than a crippled beggar." Eric clenched his jaw. He had met people like Sophia before, those who judged others by their wealth. But Destiny frowned. "Sophia, that's rude." "I'm just saying the truth," Sophia shrugged. "Anyway, Judah is looking for you." At the mention of the name, Eric noticed Destiny stiffen. "Who is Judah?" he asked. Destiny hesitated before answering. "A man from the next village. My father once wanted me to marry him, but I refused." Sophia smirked. "And you refused a rich man for a cripple? You really are foolish, Destiny." Destiny grabbed Eric's hand. "Come on, let's go home." Eric followed, but he could feel Sophia's eyes burning into his back. And in that moment, he knew Sophia was going to be a problem. Sophia had always been jealous of Destiny. She hated how people adored her, how men admired her kindness. But now, watching Destiny spend time with a beggar, it was too much. She had wanted Eric gone from the moment she saw him. But now, she had a new plan, one that would destroy Destiny's love for him forever. She just needed the right moment to strike. Meanwhile, in the next village, Judah sat in his father's house, drinking palm wine and scowling. Destiny had humiliated him. He had offered her everything: money, security, power, but she had chosen a crippled beggar over him. No, he would not accept that. A plan formed in his mind. If Destiny refused him, he would make sure she regretted it. He sent one of his men to gather information on the cripple. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. A week later, the village was buzzing with gossip. Judah had arrived at the market, standing on a wooden platform, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "People of Ilojah, you have been deceived." Judah shouted. Crowds gathered, murmuring. Destiny and Roland were among them, standing near the front. Eric, who had just arrived with a bag of vegetables, stopped in his tracks. "What is he talking about?" Destiny whispered. Judah smirked and pointed straight at Eric. "This man, this so-called crippled beggar, is a fraud. His name is not Emeka. His real name is Eric Benson. He is the son of Billionaire Chief Benson." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Destiny turned to Eric, her eyes wide. "Is this true?" she asked. Eric's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was already out. I can explain," he said. But Judah wasn't finished. "For weeks, he has been pretending to be poor. He let you all pity him. And you, Destiny, You sold your land. Your father gave up his farm. All for a man who has more money than the whole village combined. Destiny staggered backward as if she had been slapped. Eric, tell me this is not true. Tears burned in Eric's eyes. Destiny, please. Roland stepped forward, his face dark with anger. We took you in. We treated you like family. And you lied to us. Eric tried to speak, but Roland held up a hand. Get out. Eric froze. Roland's voice was shaking. I said get out. Eric swallowed hard. He had lost them. He had lost everything. Eric left the village that night, his heart shattered. By the time he arrived in Lagos, his father was waiting for him. Finally, you're back to your senses, Chief Benson said. Now you will do as I say. Eric was too broken to argue. You will marry Sandra Williams, the politician's daughter, his father continued. It will secure our family's power. You have embarrassed me long enough. Eric stared at his father. He had just lost the only people who had ever truly cared for him. And now, his father wanted to control his life once more. I don't love her, Eric said, his voice hoarse. His father waved a hand. Love! Love is for fools. You are a Benson. You will do what is best for this family. Eric clenched his fists. What if I refuse? His father leaned forward. If you refuse, I will make sure you regret it. Eric had lost Destiny. And now, he was about to lose his freedom. But something in him refused to give up. He had to find a way back. And this time, he wouldn't let anything stand in his way. Eric sat in his father's grand study, staring at the polished mahogany table. The air smelled of expensive cigars and imported whiskey. Chief Benson sat across from him, his expression cold and commanding. You will marry Sandra, his father said, sipping from a glass of brandy. She is the daughter of a senator, and that marriage will secure our family's future. Eric clenched his fists. The pain of losing Destiny, and Roland was still fresh, and now his father was forcing him into a loveless marriage. I won't do it, Eric said, his voice firm. Chief Benson narrowed his eyes. You don't have a choice, boy. Eric exhaled sharply. I have never disobeyed you, father. But this time I will. I will not marry a woman I don't love. His father slammed his glass down, his voice rising. You think love matters? Look at me. I built this empire without love. Love makes men weak, Eric. Power makes them strong. Eric shook his head. If power means sacrificing happiness, then I want no part of it. Chief Benson leaned forward, his voice turning deadly. If you walk out of this house, you will no longer be my son. You will have nothing. No money, no inheritance, no name. Eric felt his heart pound. He had been raised in wealth and privilege, but what did it mean if he couldn't have the woman he loved? He stood up. Then I choose nothing. Without another word, he turned and walked out. For the first time in his life, Eric was truly alone. Eric knew where he had to go. He needed to see Destiny. The journey back to Iloja was long and painful. His driver refused to take him, so he took an old taxi instead. By the time he arrived, the sun was setting, painting the village in warm golden hues. He limped through the familiar dirt roads, feeling the weight of what he had done. He had deceived Destiny, lied to Roland, and allowed Judah to humiliate them. Would they even listen to him? He reached Destiny's house and knocked on the wooden door. Roland opened it. His expression turned stone-cold the moment he saw Eric. What are you doing here? Roland's voice was like steel. I need to talk to Destiny, Eric said, his throat tight. Roland's jaw clenched. She doesn't want to see you. Please, Eric pleaded. I was wrong. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but... Roland held up a hand. You don't. Now leave. Before Eric could respond, another voice spoke behind him. Eric! He turned and saw Destiny standing a few feet away, carrying a basket of vegetables. Her eyes were filled with sadness. Eric swallowed. Destiny, please. Let me explain. She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded toward a tree nearby. Talk! Eric's chest tightened with hope. They walked toward the tree, the very same place where they had once sat together and talked about their dreams. Why did you do it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Eric ran a hand through his hair. I was tired of being used. Every woman I met only wanted me for my money. I thought if I disguised myself, I could find someone who loved me for me. Destiny crossed her arms. And you thought lying was the answer? I was afraid, Eric admitted. But then I met you. You were kind to me before you even knew who I was. And that scared me, because I knew the truth would hurt you. Destiny's lips pressed together. It wasn't just me, Eric. My father sold land for you. We sacrificed for you. Eric lowered his head. I know. And I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Destiny shook her head. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Eric's heart shattered, but he nodded. I understand. But I'm not giving up on us. She turned away. I need time. And with that, she walked away, leaving Eric standing under the tree alone. But he had hope, and that was enough to keep him fighting. Back in Lagos, Chief Benson was furious. Eric's refusal had made him a laughingstock among his political allies. His son had chosen a village girl over wealth and power, and it was an insult he could not forgive. You think you can defy me and get away with it, he muttered to himself. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Send the boys, he said. Teach Roland a lesson. Make sure Eric knows what it means to cross me. The line went dead. That night, danger arrived in Iloja. Eric had just fallen asleep in a small hut when he heard the screams. He bolted up and rushed outside. Roland's house was in flames. Men in black masks were running from the scene, disappearing into the night. Villagers rushed with buckets of water, trying to douse the flames. Roland! Destiny screamed. Eric sprinted into the burning house. The heat was unbearable, but he pushed forward. He found Roland lying on the floor, coughing, his face covered in soot. Eric lifted him onto his shoulders and carried him outside, just as the roof collapsed behind them. Destiny fell to her knees beside her father, crying. Papa, wake up! Roland groaned, barely conscious. Eric turned to the villagers. Someone get a doctor! A young boy ran off. Eric held Roland's hand. Stay with us, sir. Please. Roland's eyelids fluttered. Eric, is that you? Eric swallowed. Yes. I'm here. Roland's eyes filled with pain. Your father, he did this. Eric's stomach twisted. His own father had tried to kill the only man who had ever treated him like a son. Something inside him snapped. This had to end. Eric stormed into his father's mansion the next morning. His clothes were covered in soot, his eyes burning with rage. Chief Benson was sitting in his office, sipping whiskey. He barely looked up. I see you're still alive. Eric slammed his fist on the table. You tried to kill Roland. His father smirked. I sent a warning. You refused to listen, so I made my point. Eric's hands trembled. He almost died. Chief Benson leaned back. And so will many more if you continue this foolishness. Eric reached into his coat and pulled out a gun. His father's smirk faded. Eric pointed the gun at him, his voice shaking. You will leave them alone. You will stop this madness. Chief Benson chuckled. You don't have it in you, son. Eric cocked the gun. Try me. Silence. Then, for the first time, Chief Benson looked afraid. Eric's voice was cold. If you ever touch Roland or Destiny again, I will end this permanently. His father exhaled slowly. Fine. Have it your way. Eric lowered the gun. I'm done being your puppet. And with that, he turned and walked away. This time, he wasn't coming back. Back in the village, Roland was recovering. Destiny sat by his side, her eyes filled with worry. Eric entered quietly. Roland looked at him. You came back. Eric nodded. I'm not leaving this time. Roland sighed. Maybe I was wrong about you. Eric swallowed. I will prove it to you. Destiny watched him for a long moment. Then, she reached for his hand. Eric squeezed it gently. Maybe, just maybe, he had a second chance. The village of Iloja had never been this lively. Drums echoed in the air, children ran around joyfully, and the aroma of freshly cooked jollof rice filled the atmosphere. Women dressed in bright Ankara fabrics danced in circles, singing songs of love and celebration. Today was the day Eric and Destiny would finally become husband and wife. Eric stood in front of the small village church, dressed in a simple white kaftan with golden embroidery. Unlike the expensive designer suits he once wore, this one held true meaning. It represented a new life, a life of honesty and love. He glanced at Roland, who stood beside him, now healthier than before. After weeks of medical care, he had finally regained his strength, And though he had once been hesitant, he had come to accept Eric as a part of their family. As the soft hum of music filled the air, the crowd suddenly gasped in admiration. Destiny was walking down the aisle. She was breathtaking, dressed in a white lace gown with delicate beadwork, her natural hair styled in elegant curls. A golden necklace, one Eric had gifted her, rested on her collarbone, shimmering in the sunlight. But what struck Eric the most was the look in her eyes, love, trust, and hope. As she reached him, he whispered, "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen." She smiled softly, "And you are the man I have chosen." The priest began the ceremony, speaking of love, patience, and forgiveness. When the moment came for them to say their vows, Eric took Destiny's hands and said, "I came to this village as a broken man, lost and unsure of what love truly meant. But you showed me kindness, you taught me the value of honesty, and you loved me even when I didn't deserve it. Today, I vow to spend my life making you happy, to be faithful, to stand by your side no matter what comes our way." Tears shimmered in Destiny's eyes. She took a deep breath and said, "From the moment I met you, I saw kindness in you, even when you tried to hide it. You were lost, but so was I, and somehow we found each other. I promise to stand with you, to love you, and to never let the past define our future." A single tear escaped Eric's eye. The priest smiled. "You may now kiss the bride." As their lips met, the crowd erupted in cheers. Eric had once believed money was the only thing that mattered, but standing here, surrounded by people who loved him not for his wealth, but for who he was, he finally understood the meaning of true riches. While Eric and Destiny basked in their happiness, far away in the city, Sophia's world was crumbling. After the wedding scandal, she had left Iloja in shame and rushed into the arms of a man she believed to be a wealthy car dealer. His name was Daniel, and he had promised her luxury, love, and riches beyond her imagination. 4 months, she had lived under the illusion that she had finally found what Destiny had foolishly rejected. But one morning, Sophia woke up to find Daniel gone. She searched their apartment frantically, but all she found was an empty wardrobe, unpaid bills, and a note on the table. "You wanted a rich man? You should have checked properly. I was never a car dealer, I was a mechanic. Thanks for your money. Have a nice life." Sophia collapsed onto the floor. She had sold her dignity, her pride, and her peace of mind for a man who had used and abandoned her. Now, with no money, no home, and nowhere to turn, she was forced to return to Iloja, pregnant and completely alone. Judah, too, had not escaped the consequences of his greed. After exposing Eric's secret, he had expected Destiny to come running into his arms. Instead, she had despised him even more. And when the villagers learned that he had conspired to destroy an innocent man's life, his reputation crumbled. People who once respected him now avoided him. Women who once admired him now whispered about his wicked heart. No one wanted to be associated with a man who had tried to ruin true love. Slowly, Judah lost everything. His wealth disappeared after a failed business deal, his friends abandoned him, and he was left with nothing but regret. One quiet evening, months after her wedding, Destiny was walking through the market when she saw a familiar figure sitting near the roadside, begging for food. Sophia. Her once beautiful face was thin, her once arrogant eyes now filled with desperation. Her belly was swollen with pregnancy, and she looked exhausted. For a moment, Destiny thought about walking away, but she couldn't. She remembered the lessons her father had taught her, to always choose kindness, even when people don't deserve it. She walked over and knelt beside Sophia. Sophia flinched in shame. "Why are you here?" she whispered. Destiny sighed. "Because I am not like you." Sophia's lips trembled. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I have nothing, Destiny," she sobbed. "I have nowhere to go." Destiny placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then come with me." Sophia's eyes widened. You still want to help me?" Destiny smiled. "I am not doing it for you. I am doing it because that is what love does." With that, she helped Sophia to her feet and took her home. Chief Benson had changed. After his violent attack on Roland, Eric had cut him out of his life completely. At first, the billionaire had been furious. But then, as time passed, he found himself thinking about his son. For the first time in his life, he felt lonely. His business empire was thriving, His political connections were strong, but what did it mean if he had no one to share it with? One evening, after much thought, he did something he had never done before. He got into his car and drove to Omalicha. When he arrived at Eric and Destiny's home, he hesitated. Would Eric even want to see him? Taking a deep breath, he knocked. The door opened, and there stood Eric. His eyes widened in shock. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, Chief Benson swallowed his pride and said the words he had never said before. "I was wrong, son, and I am sorry." Eric blinked, not sure if he had heard correctly. "I destroyed lives," his father continued, his voice trembling. "I thought money was the only thing that mattered, but I see now that I was a fool." Tears burned in Eric's eyes. For so long, he had wished his father would understand. Now, standing here, hearing those words, he felt something inside him begin to heal. Slowly, Eric stepped aside and said, "Come in." And just like that, a broken family began to mend. Months passed. Sophia, with Destiny's help, gave birth to a baby boy and started a small business selling fabrics in the market. Roland's health improved, thanks to the medical support Chief Benson had provided. And then, one beautiful morning, Eric woke up to the best news of his life. Destiny was pregnant. As he held her close, he whispered, "I will love this child the way I was never loved." Destiny smiled, "And I will love you the way you always deserved." As the sun rose over Omalicha, Eric knew that his journey was finally complete. He had come here searching for love, and he had found something even greater: family, forgiveness, and the true meaning of happiness. Eric sat on the veranda of his home in Omalicha, watching the sun rise over the fields. The air was fresh, the birds sang, and the sound of Destiny humming as she prepared breakfast filled his heart with peace. It had been a long journey, one filled with deception, heartbreak, betrayal, and pain. But in the end, love had won. Eric had once believed that money could solve all problems. He had thought wealth would give him everything he wanted. But now, sitting in a simple village home, wearing a plain kaftan, and listening to the laughter of his wife, he realized the truth. Money could buy houses, cars, and power, but it could never buy the kind of happiness he had found here. As Destiny stepped onto the veranda with a plate of hot akara and pap, she smiled at him. "You're thinking deeply again." Eric chuckled. "I was just counting my blessings." She placed the food in front of him and sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. "Do you regret anything?" Eric sighed. "I regret lying to you. I regret the pain I caused you and your father. But I don't regret coming here. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have found you." Destiny smiled. "And if you hadn't, I wouldn't have found the love I never knew I needed." Eric took her hand and kissed it gently. Their love had been tested, but it had survived. And now, they were stronger than ever. Meanwhile, in the heart of the village, Sophia sat outside her small shop, rocking her baby in her arms. She had lost everything: her pride, her status, her dreams of marrying rich. But she had gained something unexpected. Destiny's kindness had saved her. If not for her childhood friend, she would have been homeless and helpless. She looked down at her sleeping son, his tiny fingers curled around hers. He was innocent, untainted by the mistakes of his mother. She whispered, "I may not have given you the life I dreamed of, but I promise I will do better." Tears welled in her eyes as she remembered how cruel she had once been to Destiny, how she had mocked her, tried to ruin her happiness, and even laughed at her love for Eric. And yet, Destiny had forgiven her. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Sophia sighed deeply. She had spent her life chasing wealth, but in the end, it had led her to nothing but misery. Now, all she had was a small shop, a baby, and the kindness of a friend she had once betrayed. Maybe that was enough. Across the village, Judah's fate was even worse. Once the pride of Omalicha, he was now the subject of mockery and disgrace. After trying to destroy Eric and Destiny's love, his wicked deeds had caught up with him. The business deals he had depended on fell apart. His father, embarrassed by his son's actions, disowned him. His so-called friends abandoned him. Now he was a nobody. One afternoon, as he walked through the market, he heard whispers around him. "See how he has fallen. He thought he was better than everyone. Destiny rejected him, and now look at him, alone and empty." Judah clenched his fists. He had once looked down on Eric for being a crippled beggar, but now Eric was happily married, respected and loved. And he was nothing. With a heavy heart, he walked out of the market and kept walking, not knowing where he was going, or if he would ever find his way back. Months passed, and soon the most beautiful moment of Eric's life arrived. Destiny went into labor. The small village clinic was filled with women singing songs of encouragement, midwives moving swiftly, and Roland pacing nervously outside. Eric had never been so scared in his life. He had seen boardrooms, billion-dollar deals, and business wars. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the fear of losing the woman he loved. After hours of pain and struggle, he finally heard it. A baby's cry. The midwife stepped out, beaming. "Congratulations. You have a son." Eric felt his knees go weak. He rushed inside, and there she was, Destiny, exhausted but smiling, cradling their newborn son in her arms. His heart swelled with so much emotion that tears streamed down his face. He sat beside her, kissing her forehead. "You did it, my love." Destiny smiled, placing the baby in his arms. Eric stared at the tiny life in his hands. His son, his legacy. "We should name him after your father," Destiny whispered. Eric's throat tightened. "Roland?" She nodded. Eric looked down at the baby and whispered, "Roland Benson. You will grow up knowing what true love means." For the first time in his life, Eric felt completely whole. He had lost so much, but in the end, he had gained everything that truly mattered. As time passed, Eric and Destiny's love became a legend in Iloja. Their story was told by the elders, the tale of a billionaire who gave up his wealth to find true love, of a village girl who taught him the meaning of kindness, and of a man who defied power and greed to follow his heart. Their home was always filled with laughter, warmth, and love. Even Chief Benson, once a cold and ruthless man, became a frequent visitor, enjoying the company of his grandson, humbled by the love he had once rejected. Sophia, though still struggling, found purpose in raising her child, and in time, she became a better woman. Judah, however, was never seen again. The villagers often whispered that he had left the town in shame, searching for a life outside the ruins of his own mistakes. And as for Eric and Destiny, they proved to the world that true love is not found in riches, but in the heart. Their story became a lesson that money cannot buy happiness, that greed destroys, and that forgiveness is the key to redemption. In the end, it was not power, status, or wealth that made them happy. It was love, pure, honest, and unconditional love. As the years passed, Eric often sat outside his home in Iloja, watching Destiny play with their children, the sun setting behind them. And every time he smiled, because he had once been lost, but love had found him, and that was all he had ever needed.